Last episode, I talked about the leaps of faith that I took when I felt that God was calling me to pursue my creative passion and the surrender that it took to really leap in faith and trust His plan over mine. Today, I'm going to talk about how leaping further required me to trust Him when I actually had to go back to a 9 to 5. Welcome to Here We Are, the mindful podcast for millennials, where it's all about remembering where we've been, knowing where we're going, and taking up space in the present through the art of storytelling. I'm your host, Teka. I'll tie together the practice of presence, life lessons, and mental health nuggets too. Whether sharing my own experiences or featuring a special guest, I hope to inspire you to take control of your story and take control of your life. I hope you receive what you need from today's episode, and remember to check the show notes in the description for links that I may reference. You ready? Let's journey. Imagine both my excitement and my hesitancy when a good girlfriend and colleague of mine referred me to a job a couple weeks after I had quit in December of 2019. Now, this job, of course, was appealing because in this waiting period, as I was waiting for God to guide and lead me to my next steps, I was feeling some discomfort. When you quit your job without a plan B and are trusting the leading of Spirit, you're going to experience some discomfort, of course, because that means you have to trust Him day to day, week to week, and month to month to provide. So, of course, this job has an appeal because it is stability, but it also had me questioning, okay, God, should I take this step? Because is this the direction you want me to go in terms of my creativity, in terms of my dream and my purpose that you've planted inside of me? I heard God say yes. And I'm so glad that I listened, because not only was this job offering stability, it was offering me a place to have consistent work right before the pandemic. I took this job February 20th, 2020, literally a month before the world shut down. You see, my story that I shared in episode 2, Leaps of Faith, didn't end with me, just surrendering and trusting God. Of course, that was the lesson that I wanted to share with you all, both the faith and the mental health nugget I wanted to deposit. But the other day, I came across a TikTok that spoke directly to what I was speaking about. And I felt compelled to share the other part, the follow-up to that story that I shared with you all in episode 2. You know how when you read a book, specifically a fairy tale, and the end of the book says they live happily ever after. Well, they don't tell you what exactly happened to help them to live happily ever after. So I want to play a portion of the TikTok that inspired me to actually do this bonus episode to share more of my story with you all about what happens when I need to leap even further in faith of trusting God and His leading. So take a listen.
Sometimes having a 9 to 5 is trusting God. And that's what the social media coaches and the master classes won't tell you. That having a 9 to 5 is a trust of God. Having something stable is a leap of God. And it's not to discredit those who are taking a leap. But I also want you to understand the measure of trust and faith you have to get up and go to work every single day and still believe that God's plan for your life is going to happen. So over the last year.
All right. So that TikTok is actually from a creator. I want to give her credit. Her name is Kita. Kita says at QUITASAYS on TikTok. Kita uploaded that TikTok that has a lot more information about her own experience of working a corporate job while also being an entrepreneur. And I feel like it was divine that I came across it the time that I did, because I had literally just accepted another job offer on April 19th, 2023. But I want to take y'all back. Let's go back to February 2020. So I had quit my job at the hospital December 27th, 2019. And between the time of December and February, I was, of course, excited because I was like, I get to rest. I literally took like that first week off after I had quit to just rest, to literally catch up on sleep, clean my apartment, do some self-care, journal, listen to music, lay around and look outside my window, water my plants, just all the things I feel like I had been putting off, or the things I needed to just kind of refill my spirit, take care of my body, my mind, my soul. Hang out with friends, just do some of those things. And it was right around the holidays, of course. So it also gave me the opportunity to really immerse myself in the holidays, be present with my family and friends. It was great. But then I got to the point where I was like, all right, God, I'm going to be living off of my savings, but I feel like I still need to be intentional about working alongside you. Co-creating, I would say, this time of my life, this season of my life with you. So I went ahead and started driving Lyft. Now, if anyone asks me, I will say that driving Lyft was probably one of the most fun times of my life, honestly. One, it gave me an opportunity to really get to know the city that I live in. But I also encountered some really cool people, and I feel like that was a divine opportunity because some of the people that I came into contact with, I was able to, speak to them and share my own story or hear their story and give them some encouragement, which I feel like is a gift of mine. But I was also able to, play some music or even play a podcast. And a lot of times, sometimes I would get feedback from people that would ride with me and they would say, wow, that podcast, what is it? Because they said something or shared something that I really needed to hear. And whether the podcast was faith-based or comedy or current event-based, someone got what they needed from riding in my car. And that felt really great. I also had a lot of time to do some studying and to do some reflecting through a course that I actually took that helped me to really hone in on what I realized that my purpose, my capabilities were, how I could become more clear about my own life's mission statement. And so if I was working and stressed out and anxious and overwhelmed and burned out, I would not have had time for that. So that period of my life from December 2019 to February 2020 was definitely divine. But when my friend went ahead and referred me for the position that she thought I would be perfect to apply for, I, of course, was a little hesitant at first because I was questioning, okay, is this going to take me outside of the will of God? Is this going to mean that I'm giving up on my dream? Is this going to mean that I am unsure of or scared or doubting the call that God has for me, or even the call for me to quit my job? Does this mean that I made a mistake? So I prayed about it, of course. And I heard God say, yes, take the job. And so I took the job, and I'm glad that I did, because as I had mentioned before, this was literally a month before the world shut down. So as you can imagine, if I was driving Lyft, I would not have been able to make money, because the ride share and all of that had decreased significantly within like the first month before people started to get, all of the methods and the systems in place to actually give ride share rides with safety and protocols. But I would have been out. I would have been struggling. So actually, I'll take that back. I don't know if I would have been struggling because God always provides. And so I don't know for sure, but I just know that having the job that I took, the 9-to-5, it helped to provide some stability in that time of transition to working from home. And it also gave me a lot of life lessons. I was working for a team of entire women, especially women of color. And so being on a team of majority women of color felt really great, because initially it felt like we all had a sense of solidarity and understanding with each other. Now, I'm not going to lie, that job was also stressful, because it really put me in a position where I had an opportunity to really call to the carpet my character, my integrity, my leadership, and my professionalism. And I feel like all those areas really grew for me and have helped me in my own entrepreneurial pursuits. During that time with the 9 to 5, I still felt like I needed to take my leap of faith in terms of my purpose and my calling and creativity a step further. So May of 2020 is actually when I opened my private practice through the encouragement of that same girlfriend and colleague that referred me for the job. I am so glad I did because one, not only did it give me an opportunity to experience entrepreneurship and space to really provide encouragement and healing and a safe space for other women of color, but it also gave me the opportunity to step into a space where there was a high need for mental and wellness support. Because of course, if you can imagine, if you remember, in the pandemic, it brought a lot of uncertainty, stress, anxiety, loneliness, depression. A lot of people were having to sit with themselves, sit with those that they lived with, and it brought up a lot of the things that we were suppressing or ignoring. So I'll get deeper into that maybe in another episode, but I'm just glad that I did open my practice. So I was working a 9 to 5 while also going after my dreams of entrepreneurship. Doing both at the same time definitely took some balance. But eventually I got to a point where my 9 to 5 job was leading me down a path where I was feeling very, how do I put this? Very misunderstood. I was feeling compromised in terms of my ethics and integrity. And I felt like I was dealing with some personalities and some spirits, to be quite honest, that were not aligned with who I am, but they serve their purpose. Because like I said, that season, that job taught me a lot. So July of 2021, still working for my own private practice, I decided, all right, God, I'm going to trust you even further, and I'm going to go ahead and quit this 9 to 5 job. I know y'all probably listening to this like, what in the world? So if you're doing the math, yes, December 2019, first time I quit my job, leap of faith. February 2020, another leap of faith, going back to a 9 to 5. May 2020, another leap of faith, launching my own private practice. July 2021, another leap of faith, quitting that 9 to 5. Now, don't get me wrong. I know that I'm part of the generation millennials where we may or may not stay at a job longer than 2 years. We're not going to stay somewhere where we don't feel appreciated or where we don't feel like we are growing or being valued, especially if we don't feel like we have a life-work balance. You know, working from home, I think revealed a lot about the millennial generation, and especially Gen Z. So July 2021 is when I decided, all right, girl, you're going to work for yourself. And I was working for myself, whether it be my own private practice or contract work where I'll be doing like consultations and other things. For a year, so July 2021 to July 2022, I was doing all right. I was in a new relationship and feeling really supported. I made a move. I moved to a new apartment that was safer. And I also was able to really delve into what I wanted my presence, what I wanted my work, what I wanted my gift and offering to the world to really be. And I'm still figuring that out. So don't get me wrong. I am still figuring that out. But I feel like I had the space, time, and opportunity to explore that because I was able to create my own schedule. I was able to be really intentional about the things that I did to pour back into myself. And I feel like that was a part of leaping in faith. And I feel like that was a part of why God called me further into my journey to take a chance on myself, to really trust myself and trust the gifts that He has trusted me with. And so from July 2021 to July 2022, really to December 2022. I was feeling really great. Now, don't get me wrong, the entrepreneurial journey, many people will tell you, has its ups and downs. And so I recognized during that time that other professionals in the mental health field started to boom on social media. Like TikTok therapist is a thing. Instagram therapist is a thing. And I'm so proud of us for increasing the awareness about mental health and mental illness. However, my own personal journey caused me to feel comparison. And that comparison caused me to lose sense of who I know God called me to be. I lost almost like common sense because I had made some moves financially that were not smart. And it caused me to lose a sense of self. And so that comparison around the end of 2022, leading into 2023, is what I think put me in a position where God was like, all right, I told you to trust me. You leapt in faith, and I told you to trust me, to say yes to the things that I was giving you, to say no to the things that were not aligned. And so in that comparison, sometimes it takes us out of alignment. It takes us off the track that we're supposed to be on. Of course, now our journeys are not always going to look perfect, right? Sometimes we got to take a detour, U-turn, another exit, and we'll be rerouted back to our track. And that's what happened to me. That's what I believe. And I think that God was probably looking at me like, girl, get your life. But I love you and I'm going to help you out anyway. And so that leads me to another leap of faith that has occurred April of 2023. Not only did I launch the podcast, April 2023, I also decided I am going to go ahead and apply for a job where I'll be working under someone again. Now, this is not your typical 9 to 5. It is still a work from home job where I have autonomy over my schedule, and I'll still be doing telehealth therapy. But it'll make me a W-2 employee again. And if you talk to a lot of entrepreneurs and you talk to the, like that TikTok said, the coaches, the master classes, they make it seem like being a W-2 employee is slavery. But I don't agree to that. I feel like having a 9 to 5 or being like a W-2 employee, it is trusting God because it offers a level of stability so that you can feel at peace with your finances, with your provisions, with your housing. It offers you a lot of peace and that stability so that you have the capacity to really pour into and really be intentional about the things that God is calling you to. And so for me, I feel like God has given me these ideas and I'm feeling flooded with them. Like, okay, I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to do this. I feel like I need to do this. And I know that I'm not coming up with these ideas on my own and that they're divine downloads, but I cannot pursue them if I'm stressed out, anxious, depressed, and burned out because I'm having a difficulty with the current position I'm in. And so sometimes God will make a way. And I feel like taking this most recent leap of faith to pursue a job where I'll be a quote unquote W-2 employee again, I had a twinge. So an eensy-beensy bit of hesitancy because I was like, man, is this me again doubting you? Lord, is this me again feeling like I made a mistake? And I take accountability for one of the mistakes I made in a space where I was letting comparison lead. But I feel like this faith walk and journey comes with its ups and downs. And it really requires you to listen, to really be aware of and mindful of the voice within. Some call it wisdom, some call it intuition, some call it the spirit. But you have to be mindful and you have to be aware and attuned to what it is telling you. And I heard myself, yes, take the job. It aligns with not only with what you're already doing, but it gives you the opportunity to prepare for the next season that I'm going to call you into, which I have an idea of the next season that God is calling me into, and it don't got nothing to do with my career. But that's another episode for another day. But I am telling you all of this in this bonus episode because I felt like I left us on a happily ever after cliffhanger in episode 2. And I want to keep it real with y'all. This is a mindful podcast for millennials, but I also want to make sure that I am telling the truth. I'm owning my truth. I'm taking the power in my truth and sharing my story with you all so that you all can also feel encouraged. So this is not just about jobs. This is not just about whether or not you're an entrepreneur or you work a 9-to-5. This is essentially about if the plan changes, know that it can still be for your good. God finishes the work he starts in you. And so if you're on your journey and you feel like, man, I made a mistake, like 2-3 steps back, God can reroute you. If you feel like, dang, I'm lost and I don't really know if I should take this opportunity or this opportunity. Maybe you're at a fork in the road. Get quiet, get still, get mindful, and really listen for that spirit. Listen for that wisdom that comes up in you, and take heed of it and then make your move. And even if it's not perfect, even if it doesn't feel great, even if it doesn't feel like or look like what everybody else is doing, know that it can still be for your good, that God's plan, cue Drake, it's always going to be for your good. Always. God is obsessed with us. He loves us and he really wants our lives on this earthly experience to be abundant and full. And he wants us to also really leave all of our offerings from the gift that he's given us here on earth. That's our purpose. And so trust it. I just want you to trust it, no matter which direction your story and your journey is going, whether it's with your career, your family, your love life, your friendships, even your own healing journey. It's not always going to feel perfect. It's not always going to look like everybody else's, but trust it because it's yours. It's yours. That felt great to share my truth, share my story with you all, and share what happens after the quote unquote happily ever after. But just because this is a bonus episode does not mean that I'm going to leave y'all without our favorite segment, which is GIFT. If you're just now listening to the Here We Are podcast, GIFT is actually an acronym. The G stands for gratitude or goal. The I stands for intention. The F is for faith or focus. And the T is for take action. So today, my gratitude is for TikTok. As random as it seems, the algorithm be algorithming, okay? I came across that TikTok by Keita Says, and I really believe it was divine. I really believe that it encouraged a part of me that needed to hear that just because I'm taking a job as a W-2 employee again, does not mean that I'm still not trusting God. So that's my gratitude. My intention is to continue to be mindful, to continue to listen to spirit, that wisdom inside of me that continues to guide and lead me, and to trust. That's my faith. My F is to trust, is to continue to trust that even if I make a decision that may lead me down a path that seems scary or uncertain, or maybe even cause doubt to the surface, that I can trust that God can work things out for my good. That taps into my life scripture, which is Romans 8:28. And then my T, my take action. I am going to, of course, continue my story of telling you all about all of the ways that I have had to trust God and take leaps of faith. And that'll probably be a theme that you'll see weave throughout the time of this podcast. But I also want to make sure that I hear from you all. Feel free to share or email me. What is a way that you have had to take a leap in faith, or even take another leap even further in faith to trust God when you felt like things were uncertain, when you felt like things were looking kind of wonky, or even when comparison called up doubt to the surface and you were left in limbo or left in waiting? Tell me about your times that you've had to really tap in and take a leap in faith and trust that everything was going to work out. I really appreciate you all listening to today's bonus episode. Make sure you tune in next Friday for episode 3 of season 1 of the Here We Are podcast. Thank you so much for listening to Here We Are, the mindful podcast for millennials. Let's connect on Instagram at the Here We Are Pod and on YouTube at Here We Are Pod. If you're listening and loving the podcast, I'd be honored if you go ahead and hit that subscribe button and leave me a review. Remember to breathe in the present moment. Take care.